song is called Alice's Restaurant. It's about Alice and the restaurant. But Alice's Restaurant's not the name of the restaurant. That's just the name of the song. That's why I call the song Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant. Now it all started 2 Thanksgivings ago. That was 2 years ago on Thanksgiving, when my friend and I went up to visit Alice at the restaurant. But Alice doesn't live in the restaurant. She lives in the church nearby the restaurant in the bell tower with her husband Ray and Fasha the dog. And living in the bell tower like that, they got a lot of room downstairs where the pews used to be. And having all that room, seeing as how they took out all the pews, they decided they didn't have to take out their garbage for a long time. But we got up there and found all the garbage in there, and we decided it would be a friendly gesture for us to take the garbage down to the city dump. So we took the half a ton of garbage and put it in the back of a red VW microbus, took shovels and rakes and implements of destruction, and headed on towards the city dump. Well, we got there, and there was a big sign and a chain across the dump saying closed on Thanksgiving. Well, we had never heard of a dump closed on Thanksgiving before, and with tears in our eyes, we drove off into the sunset looking for another place to put the garbage. We didn't find one. Till we came to a side road, and off the side of the side road was another 15-foot cliff. And at the bottom of the cliff there was another pile of garbage, and we decided that one big pile is better than 2 little piles, and rather than bring that one up, we decided to throw ours down, and that's what we did. Drove back to the church, had a Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, went to sleep and didn't get up until the next morning when we got a call from Officer Obi. He said, "Kid, we found your name at the bottom on an envelope at the bottom of a half a ton of garbage, and just wanted to know if you have any information about it." And I said, "Yes, sir, Officer Obi, I cannot tell a lie." I put that envelope under that garbage. Well, after speaking to him about 45 minutes on the telephone, we finally arrived at the truth of the matter and said we had to go down and pick up the garbage, and also had to go down and speak to him at the police officer's station. So we got in the red VW microbus with the shovels and rakes and implements of destruction and headed on towards the police officer's station. Now, friends, there was only one of 2 things that Obi could have done at the police officer's station. And the first was he could have given us a medal for being so brave and honest on the telephone, which wasn't very likely and we didn't expect it. And the other thing was that he could have bawled us out and told us never to be seen driving garbage around the vicinity again, which is what we expected. But when we got to the police officer station, there was a third possibility that we hadn't even counted upon. We was both immediately arrested, handcuffed. I said, "Obi, I don't think I can pick up the garbage with these handcuffs on." He said, "Shut up, kid. Get in the back of the patrol car." And that's what we did. We sat in the back of the patrol car and drove to the quote-unquote scene of the crime. I want to tell you about the town of Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where this happened. Here they got 3 stop signs, 2 police officers, and 1 police car. But when we got to the scene of the crime, there was 5 police officers and 3 police cars, being the biggest crime of the last 50 years, and everybody wanted to get in the newspaper story about it. And they was using up all kinds of copy equipment that they had hanging around the police officer station, and they was taking plaster tire tracks, footprints, dog smell and prints. They took 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used against us. Took pictures of the approach, the getaway, the northwest corner, the southwest corner, and that's not to mention the aerial photography. After the ordeal, we went back to the jail. Obie said he was going to put us in the cell. And he said, "Kid, I'm going to put you in the cell. I want your wallet and your belt." I said, "Obie, I can understand you wanting my wallets. I don't have any money to spend in the cell. But what do you want my belt for?" And he said, "Kid, we don't want any hangings." I said, "Obie, do you think I was going to hang myself for littering?" Obie said he was making sure, and friends, Obie was, because he took the toilet seat so I couldn't hit myself over the head and drown. And he took out the toilet paper so I couldn't bend the bars, roll the toilet paper out the window, slide down the roll, and have an escape. Obie was making sure, and it was about 4 or 5 hours later that Alice, remember Alice? It's a song about Alice. Alice came by with a few nasty words to Obie on the side, bailed us out of jail, and we went back to the church, had another Thanksgiving dinner that couldn't be beat, and we didn't get up till the next morning when we all had to go to court. We walked in, sat down. Obie came in with the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one. Sat down. Man came in, said, "All rise." We all stood up, and Obie stood up. The 27 8x10 color glossy pictures, and the judge walked in and sat down with a seeing-eye dog. He sat down, we sat down. Obie looked at the seeing-eye dog, and then at the 27 8x10 color glossy photographs with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and looked at the seeing-eye dog. And then at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one, and began to cry because Obie came to the realization that it was a typical case of American blind justice, and there was nothing he could do about it. And the judge wasn't going to look at the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with circles and arrows and a paragraph on the back of each one explaining what each one was to be used as evidence against us. We was fined $50 and had to pick up the garbage in the snow. But that's not what I came here to tell you about. Came to talk about the draft. They got a building down in New York City called Whitehall Street, where you walk in, you get injected, inspected, detected, infected, neglected, and selected. I went down to get the physical examination one day, and I walked in and I sat down, got good and drunk the night before, so I looked and felt my best. Then I went in that morning because I wanted to look like the all-American kid from New York City. Man, I wanted to feel like the all-American. I wanted to be the all-American kid from New York City. And I walked in, sat down, and was hung down, brung down, hung up, and all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I walked in and sat down, and they gave me a piece of paper and said, "Kid, see the psychiatrist, room 406. And I went up there and I said, "Shrink, I want to kill. I want to kill. I want to see. I want to kill. I want to see burnt, dead bodies, blood and gore and guts and veins in my teeth. Eat dead, burnt bodies. Kill. Kill, kill, kill." And I started jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill, kill." And he started jumping up and down with me, and we was both jumping up and down, yelling, "Kill, kill, kill." And the sergeant came over, pinned a medal on me, and sent me down the hall. Said, "You're our boy." Well, I didn't feel too good about it. Proceeded down the hall, getting more injections, inspections, detections, neglections, and all that kind of stuff. And they was doing to me like there was a thing that was there for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I was there a long time, going through all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly things. And I was just having a tough time. And they was inspecting, injecting every single part of me. And they wasn't leaving no part untouched. Proceeded through, when I finally came to see the very last man. I walked in, sat down, whole big thing there, and I walked in and said, "What do you want?" And he said, "Kid, we only got one question. Have you ever been arrested?" And I proceeded to tell him the story of Alice's Restaurant Massacre with full orchestration and 5-part harmony and stuff like that and all the phenomena, and I stopped right there and said, "Kid, did you ever go to court?" And I proceeded to tell him about the story of the 27 8x10 color glossy pictures with the circles and arrows and a paragraph in the back of each one. And he stopped me right there and said, "Kid, I want you to go and sit on that bench that says Group W. Now, kid." And I walked over to the bench there, and there the Group W's, where they put you if you may not be moral enough to join the army after committing your special crime. And it was all kinds of mean, nasty, ugly-looking people on the bench there. And there was mother rapers, father stabbers, father rapers sitting right there on the bench next to me. And when there was this mean, nasty, and ugly, and horrible crime-type guy sitting there on the bench, and the meanest, ugliest, nastiest one, the meanest father raper of them all, was coming over to me and said nasty and horrible, all kinds of things. And he sat down next to me and said, "Kid, what'd you get?" And I said, "I didn't get nothing. I had to pay $50 to pick up the garbage." And he said, "Well, what were you arrested for, kid?" And I said, "Littering." And they all moved away from me on the Group W bench there. There were all these nasty, hairy eyeball and all kinds of mean, nasty things, till I said, "And creating a nuisance." And they all came back, shook my hand. We had a great time on the bench talking about crime, mother stabbing, father raping, all kinds of groovy things like we was talking about on the bench. And everything was fine. We were smoking cigarettes and all kinds of things till the sergeant came over. Had some paper in his hand, held it up, said, "Kids, this piece of paper's got 47 words, 37 sentences, 58 words. When you want to know the details of the crime, and any other kinds of things you got to say pertaining to and about the crime. I want to know the arresting officer's name and any other kind of thing they got to say." And we talked for 45 minutes, and nobody understood a word that he said. But we all had fun filling out the forms and playing with the pencils on the bench there. And I filled out the Massacre with the 4-part harmony and wrote it down there just like it was, and everything was fine. And I put down the pencil and I turned over the piece of paper, and there on the other side, in the middle of the other side, away from everything else on the other side, in parentheses, capital letters, quotated, read the following words: "Kid, have you rehabilitated yourself?" Well, I went over to the sergeant and said, "Sergeant, you got a lot of damn gall asking me if I rehabilitated myself. I mean, here I am sitting on the bench, just sitting here on the Group W bench, and sitting here and, because you want to know if I'm moral enough to join the army, burn women, kids, houses, and villages after being a litter bug." He looked at me and said, "Kid, we don't like your kind. And we're going to send your fingerprints off to Washington. And friends, somewhere in Washington, enshrined in some little folder, is a study in black and white of my fingerprints. And the only reason I'm saying this to you, singing this song now, is because you may know someone in a similar situation, or you may be in a similar situation. And if you are in a similar situation like that, there's only one thing you can do, and that's walk into the shrink, wherever you are. Just walk in and say, 'Shrink, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant,' and walk out. You know, if just one person does it, you may think he's really sick and they won't take him. And if two people do it in harmony, they may think they're both gay and they won't take either of them. And if 3 people do it, 3 people. Can you imagine 3 people walking and singing a bar of Alice's restaurant and walking out? They may think it's an organization. And you can imagine 50 people a day. I said 50 people a day walking and singing a bar of Alice's restaurant and walking out. And friends, they may think it's a movement. And that's what it is. The Alice's Restaurant anti-massacre movement. And all you got to do to join is to sing it the next time it comes around. With feeling. So we'll wait for it to come around on the guitar here and sing it when it does. Here it comes. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad track. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. That was horrible. Couldn't hear you. If you want to end war and stuff, you got to sing loud. You can put it out loud. I've been singing this song now for 25 minutes, and I could sing it for another 25 minutes. I'm not proud or tired. So we'll wait till it comes around again, and this time with 4-part harmony and feeling. We're just waiting for it to come around. That's what we're doing now. Ready? You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Excepting Alice, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. I said walk right in, it's around the back, just about a mile from the railroad track. And you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Dee 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 dee. At Alice's restaurant.